Jordan Thomas Thornton.
It's summer 2017, and I'm about to receive the highest scoring degree from a class of about 300 students at a global top 1% university. With an award-winning dissertation, previous lecturing experience, and a competitive research scholarship to my name, it felt like smooth sailing towards big brain professorship at somewhere idyllic like Oxford or Cambridge. But it's at this very moment that I was plotting my escape. Despite being an outwardly successful student, at least by academic and athletic appearances, I had been suffering with mental and suicidal instability, physical disassociation and disembodiment, and general emotional unwellness since the age of 10. And I'd finally reached a breaking point. With my degree finished, I knew that my chaotic inner world could not be repressed any longer. It was time for a new commitment. The strongest promise of my life, the commitment to heal. So on graduation day, 2017, I made an unshakable intention to myself to spend the next 3 years dedicated, attempting to understand and alleviate my unresolved personal trauma with inner work. Because although the previous 5 years of conventional self-development had rewarded me with sex, status, and success, and all of the golden goodies that young men chase, safety and serenity were nowhere to be found.
Let's go, ladies!
The 2 years immediately following my graduation were spent volunteering my way around Europe. I worked on a variety of interesting and alternative family and community projects, with typical responsibilities being things like construction, labouring, land maintenance, looking after livestock, and general housekeeping. Overall, outwardly speaking, I volunteered on 20 different projects in about half a dozen countries. Inwardly speaking, and most importantly of all, I spent these 2 years in more or less constant contemplation. Volunteering gives you a lot of free time to think about things. In my case, I spent this time journaling, consuming as much internet-based media as I possibly could related to inner work, and generally pushing my limits with spiritually challenging practices like water fasting for up to 5 days at a time, and various meditations which, in hindsight, actually blurred the borders of reality maybe a bit too much than was sensible. In retrospect, I consider this period the first half of my inner working journey, which thankfully alleviated the immediate intensity of suicidal and disassociative challenges. But there were still massive holes in my understanding. Podcasts and videos and subjective experiences were no longer enough. I needed to lay down roots and research deeper. Much deeper. The last 27 months of my life have been spent exploring the breadth and depth of the inner working literature. For an average of 4 to 6 hours per day, basically every day, I have patiently and persistently expanded the library behind me in an attempt to uncover the repeating patterns, peculiarities, and controversial themes within the trauma healing and consciousness expansion space. To cut a long story short, I have read 350 books in the last 27 months. However, I don't know the value of reading a book cover to cover if you're anything like me and you forget the vast majority of what you've read within a week. Flicking and flirting our way through a forest of pages may feel like progress, but recent experience has revealed the sheer wastefulness of this approach. A more skillful approach is to build a living library, a relational entity established upon 2 principles: curation and repetition. It's about finding the best of the material and attempting to absorb and apply as much of that as possible, which is why, about halfway into my research, I committed myself to manually transcribing and digitizing the key highlights from the key books, which in effect has created a smaller, second, focused digital library within the larger foundational physical library. In all honesty, I've hated this process most of the time. Second reading is tedious, it hurts my eyes, and it's nowhere near as fun as that feeling of encountering lots of new ideas quickly. But I would be lying if I didn't celebrate just how integral it has been in understanding challenging concepts and supporting others to do the same. And if you're curious about the numbers, I think the digital archive is at about 500,000 to 650,000 words right now, which again is the top 10% of 80 curated books from the wider 350. This is my way of saying, all hesitations aside, I think I've reached the point of redundancy with research, and I'm ready to share what I've learned about inner work. Welcome to Inner Work Essentials, my ambitious and yet simultaneously foundational 52-part series which aims to equip you with the tools and perspectives for auto-therapeutic self-healing and transformative self-education at a much greater degree of intensity, diversity, and quality than the majority of what you'll find on the internet. My aim with this series isn't only to bring forwards elements of my personal story and lessons from client experiences. Most importantly of all, I want to direct your attention to the criminally underrated healers, thinkers, psychologists, teachers, and spiritual educators who've illuminated my path and absolutely deserve your attention. This is why there are 52 episodes in this series, because each episode is built around one key book, one exact resource for an exact problem, which basically saves your time, stops you wasting time on lower level material or repeating the loop of feel-good podcast and video consumption, like this very video itself, that doesn't really go to any significant depth. It just titillates the senses and passes through and it's gone. This is why we focus on the books. Again, why 52 episodes? Well, in all honesty, 52 is an ambitious yet super achievable number of books to read in 1 year, one book per week, for the intensely motivated or desperately seeking. But I want you to know that only the first 30 videos in this series are the essential inner work essentials, which is basically 2 books per month. The irony of making an easy to consume digital series which encourages you to do difficult, offline, consistent, challenging self-study is not lost upon me. But this is a strange world we live in, and I truly believe that this kind of approach to inner healing and self-transformative education is what will serve you the best. So above all else, I'm appreciative of your attention. I'm grateful to be on this journey alongside you, and I cannot wait to share just what I've learned about inner work, and hopefully encourage you to read some books too. Right? Not videos. It's about